document claiming that fully 70% of agricultural land in Victoria would be required for wind and solar farms has mysteriously disappeared from the government's website. Now, the policy directions paper was written to argue that the government must create offshore wind, without which the government's renewable energy target would not be reached unless major portions of Victoria's farming land were covered with solar panels and wind turbines. So you'd achieve net zero, but the price of food would go through the roof because it would all need to be imported. And I don't know, Liz, maybe that's the green plan. If there's no farming land, there's no food. If there's no food, there's no people. If there's no people, there's no emissions, and suddenly you've got your green utopia. But Jacinta Allen, the Victorian Premier, was unable to give any explanation as to why this information has suddenly disappeared from the Victorian government website. I suppose, Caleb, that it's no great surprise. After all, if people were to find out that the renewable energy industry, to meet government targets, would require an area 4 times the size of Greater Melbourne to be used for solar panels and wind turbines. I mean, number one, you'd have to compensate farmers who presumably you were going to take it from. But I mean, that's an astonishing claim, and I can well imagine the government don't want that too widely publicised.
Of course, the interesting thing is, though, that this paper was written in March 2022, so it has presumably existed and been on the government's website for quite some time, but only recently did anyone within the government take any time to read it and go, what? You're telling me that we've got to give over 60, 70% of our farming land in order to get rid of it? I mean, it's been there for so long. If they had not noticed or taken any notice of that fact until now, then we are in serious trouble. But what they are trying to do is hide the truth. And the truth is that if you want to go down this road of rampant renewable energy, you need shed loads of land to do it, and that is land that is owned by people, that is productive land. And we only have so much productive land in this country. We're a massive country, but a lot of it's desert, right? There's only so much productive agricultural land we have. And if we start saying, well, that's what we're going to use to make this renewable energy stuff work, then you may as well not be here at all. And sure, that might be their ultimate goal. But, you know, they call themselves Extinction Rebellion, these protesters, because their aim is to continue the human race for as long as possible. Make your mind up.
Yeah, which is it? Also, how are we going to survive without food? Can someone answer me that simple question? But I think you're very kind to just assume that the government just accidentally left it up and then now taken it down to hide the truth from the public and weren't aware that it was there. I think this is 100% their plan. They know it. They've taken it down because they don't want people to be aware of it, but they knew what was said in the 2022 review. It was no surprise to them whatsoever, and it only ever made headlines because a few people got busy doing some investigative journalism. Please do some more, if only Australia was full of this kind of thing. So get this, fearless LNP Senator for Queensland, Jared Rennick, used Senate estimates today to ask Murray Watt, Labor's not Environment Minister, Agricultural Minister, this simple question. How on earth is this, clearing 70% of farming land in Victoria, how is this going to be good for the environment?
How on earth could you possibly say that renewables are good for the environment when 70% of agricultural land would have to be used for these concrete?
For starters, I thought Senator Canavan said it was in the order of 50-odd% rather than 70%.
That's if it's not.
Depending on offshore, depending if they get offshore.
Yeah, how much of it's onshore and offshore. I mean, we can talk about
the offshore proposals have been rejected by your government.
Yeah, I think we do need to recognise that. I acknowledge that there are farmers who don't want renewables on their land and feel that proponents of renewable energy have too much say, and that's why we've done the review. What I haven't heard anyone from the coalition acknowledge is that there are actually farmers who support having renewables on their land and support the new income streams.
That's not the question I asked. Yeah, and that's right, they are getting income streams. That's not the question I asked. Is it good for the environment? Why are we doing this? It seems to me that the regions are basically wearing all the impact here and the environment itself for the sake of, you know, on the ultra renewables and
Well,
zero?
I guess it depends how you look at it, Senator Rennick. You say the regions are wearing the pain, or exactly whatever the words you used were. Yeah. I would argue that the regions stand to gain more than anywhere else from the renewable rollout, because of the jobs that will be created as a result of renewables, because of the new income streams that farmers and others will gain. I think that's pretty good for the regions.
That's a one-off.
Well, we're paying them off. We're paying them off, says Murray. Yeah, mate, but where's the food going to come from? No doubt that certain farmers are just like, yeah, actually, if you're going to give me that much money, you can have it. But what about the ones who, for now, aren't relenting the land? How long before it's mandated, Murray? And even then, in the meantime, where is our food going to come from as you gobble up all this agricultural land? Stop saying, oh, we're just paying them off. It's going to be fine. What kind of long planning scheme is that? Of course, Minister Murray Watt didn't have any real arguments. And you know that for sure, don't you? Because when he couldn't come back with any simple answer to the simple question, how is clearing 70% of agricultural land in Victoria going to be good for the environment, he just fell back on attacking the man, didn't he? Instead of the man's argument.
I think your career in the Senate has demonstrated that you don't accept the silence of climate change, that you don't support renewables. I know there's other senators like Senator Canavan who share those views, and you are always going to oppose these measures. We obviously disagree on that. Our government...
I support the environment and protecting the environment, protecting jobs. Okay, and 70% of agricultural land being covered in wind farms and solar panels is not good for the environment.
You're no match for Rennick, Mr. Murray Watt, Mr. Hands Off Our Ham. I think that's what he'll always be best remembered for, the hands off our ham man.
Well, there won't be any ham because there's no land to run the pigs on.
But here we have this incredible, unbelievable piece of data now saying that is how much agricultural land is going to have to be cleared in order to make your government's green dream come true. Senator Rennick asks a very simple question of the relevant agricultural minister. Hey, this is your government. What are you going to be doing about this? And he can't answer a question that simple.
Now, as you said, he falls back on personal attacks. Well, it's confirmed you don't believe in climate science. You're a denier. Yeah. So clearly, offshore wind is not feasible. I mean, there's a zillion problems with that. You can't subsume 70% of Victorian farmland for renewables. And we should point out, this was more than just a line on the website. They actually had published maps showing the scale of land that would need to be taken. So increasingly, nuclear looks like the only way to achieve net zero.